This is a 2003 Arctic Cat 400 automatic, and the first thing you got to do besides taking off the wheel is of course take off the crown wheel lug, or the wheel nut here, and got to take off both of the calipers. There's a bolt, 2 bolts, one here and one down below it, and you've got to take off the manual brake as well. There's again two bolts down on the inside down here. I know nothing about mechanics. Had a buddy help me, and what I learned, a few things. With the brakes, don't worry. There's nothing going to leak. Nothing's going to suddenly close on your fingers, and you just take these off, and they slide right off. A mechanic buddy of mine showed me this trick because he saw me fighting with this tiny little wee wrench trying to get this bolt off that couldn't get a other wrench on here. Couldn't get this thing on. Anyway, he says he grabbed a big wrench off the floor and just put it together like this, and now you've got a whole bunch of leverage for actually using these little wrenches as well. Slick trick. Alright, so I've got the 2 calipers off, and actually I had to put the main brake caliper back on and lock the brakes so that I could get the crown nut off the end of the hub here. I originally had tried I didn't even have a big enough wrench. I ended up running out and buying an electric impact wrench, which is about the only way possible to get that sucker off there. Next, I'm going to loosen up the top bolt for the top arm, and then I'll loosen up the bottom bolt for the bottom arm, so I can slip the disc brake assembly off of this axle hub here to reveal the outer boot. Okay, I've removed the bolt from the upper arm, and I've lowered it, loosened it at least from the bottom arm. Now to get the axle out, you want to put the crown nut back on the end of the axle, and then you can use a hammer or a push. I guess you could use a wooden block or something just to protect it as well, but use a hammer on the nut to hammer the axle back in. And that will slide right out then, and you can just drop the disc assembly down, and so we have the loose axle. So at this point, I could take off if I was repairing the bottom one here, I'd take off the 2 straps, and then there's a C-clip or a clip inside the housing here that will allow the bearing component inside there to come out. The belt, the boot unchanging is actually the upper one here. So to pull this axle off, actually I'm just going to be pulling on this axle, pulling on it, and the C-clip that's on the axle inside the upper housing will actually release, and the whole thing will come out. Okay, I'm going to see if this actually works. I've never actually had this out, so hopefully this whole thing's not going to collapse on me. But I'm told the reef on this, oops, no. That's not coming. Whew. Oh shit. Yeah, you want to drain your differential first. Woohoo! Okay, so this is the inside end of the axle, and here's this little clip. I don't know if they call it a C-clip or whatever. This lodges inside there, and that's what holds the axle in. So in reefing and pulling out the axle, This clip just decompresses a little bit and allows the whole thing to pop right out. So I'm going to be replacing that clip and then putting a new clip in out of the boot kit, and then it will be all good to go. So this is the actual guy I'm going to change right here. Okay, the next deal is to remove the two clips that are on here right now. This one didn't get reinstalled very well to start with, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal to get off, but of course it is. So I'm just going to use the clippers here and clip it off here one way or the other. I'm not worried about damaging it, of course. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I'm going to take that one off and the inner one off as well. Okay, the next challenge is, once you got the boot off, is there's a little bit of a C-clip down in here. You got to get that C-clip out of there, and then that'll allow you to pull the axle bearing component out of the hub here. Okay, so we got that clip ring out of the other side, so we could slide the whole thing out of the hub. And next is, you can see on the end of this portion of the axle, there's a little C-clip there. We've got to take that off, and then we should have to slide that bearing assembly right off. Yay! So we got the little C-clip off the end of the axle there finally, with my special tool that didn't work very well, but another tool that I had to run out and buy. The bearing assembly slid off real nice, and then I know a lot of guys just cut these and rip them right off, but of course it slid right off. So now I'm going to reinstall the new boot. Okay, now repacking the bearing. The boot kit instructions says to use about 2/3 of the grease for the inbound one side, and what you want to do is you want to pack grease in from both sides. Put some in the outside, put some on the inside, and then just with your hands work that grease into the bearing. I should mention that from a mistake I made here when I was doing my very first boot, which was the outside boot here of this same axle. Put things all back together with my help of my buddy who taught me how to do this, and discovered that the inbound boot had a bit of very minor tear in it. So that's the one that I'm replacing right now. So of course you would have used some solvent to clean out all the crap out of the bearing housing and all that. Clean it all out and then blow it out. Very important to blow it out with air supply. And then the other part of the leftover grease here, I'm going to squirt inside the actual housing here. I'm going to change my gloves here for a second. But that's about it. Squeeze the remaining grease inside the housing and then put your clamps back on. Okay, and here I've got the axle bearing back inside the housing, and I've reinstalled the new clip, the new C-clip down inside just inside the rim there. So of course that prevents the axle bearing from sliding back out of the housing. Next is just to slide the boot back up over top where it belongs and install the new clips on both sides.